Yo, what is up, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video. NBA awards are finally being announced. I just want to real quick say I'm so glad once again that they got rid of the award show format. It just did not work. And it's cool to see that guys are getting it announced over the course of the playoffs. I think that's a lot better format. But yesterday, it came out that Marcus Smart has won Defensive Player of the Year, first guard to win it since Gary Payton in 1996, and only the second guard ever to win the award. He was probably the best defensive player on the Celtics team that, especially in the second half of the season, was just so much better than anyone else defensively. Gary Payton was there alongside his teammates to let him know when he walked into the practice gym. He gave a speech. It was really cool. I'm really happy for Marcus Smart. He's one of those guys that went from kind of that hustle player, but kind of more considered a flopper than a great defensive player earlier in his career, to being a guy that made so many winning plays for the Celtics down the stretch of a game defensively, to now being recognized as one of the best defenders in the league. It's super cool, and I'm really happy for Marcus Smart. For me, he was one of the top three players. He wasn't necessarily my pick. My pick was Mikal Bridges. If you watched my awards video, I kind of talked about how great he was, how much he impacted the game as a wing defender, and even Mikal Bridges himself was happy for Marcus Smart. He tweeted out saying that it was just a blessing to be in that conversation, and he's a guy that I do think will get not just consideration, but will probably win a Defensive Player of the Year award in the future. So I don't think he's too pressed about it. And it seemed like a lot of people were really happy for Marcus Smart, but there's also a large number of people that were pretty unhappy for him. People calling him the worst Defensive Player of the Year of all time, saying that he didn't deserve it, that how is it not this guy, how is it not that guy? And to be honest, it kind of goes back to what I said in my awards video. This was one of the most competitive award races of all time. Not just for Defensive Player of the Year, but for every award in general. MVP, Most Improved Player, Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, Rookie of the Year, all of them outside of probably Sixth Man of the Year were pretty hotly contested. And so, sure, you can think that one person deserved it or one person deserved, or they didn't deserve it. But in the end, one person's going to win. There are so many deserving candidates. Yes, Mikal Bridges deserved Defensive Player of the Year, but so did Smart. Gobert was probably deserving of it too. Draymond Green, if he didn't get hurt, probably was deserving. Bam Adebayo. Jaren Jackson Jr. deserved a lot of credit too. There were so many different players that played into that scenario. Robert Williams, if he didn't get hurt, probably would have gotten some consideration too. But ultimately, it's just, you can't really say that he wasn't deserving, because Marcus Smart was. He was great. He was a great perimeter defender in a league that is increasingly perimeter-centric. For a long time, it's been pretty much only big men that win the award, and I mean, that does make sense. Big men are some of the most impactful defensive players because the number one goal of an NBA defense is to get stops, and layups are the most efficient shots in the NBA. When guys go up to the basket, they're not typically going to miss a layup, so if you have someone there that deters them, forces them to shoot mid-range jumpers or threes, it makes sense. They give a lot of defensive impact. So Rudy Gobert is a guy that definitely could have won this award. He's one of the better rim protectors of the modern era. However, three-point shooting is super critical in the modern league, and it's why guys like Marcus Smart and Mikal Bridges were deservedly getting a lot of recognition to win that award. There are guys who lock up on the perimeter, and not even just that, Marcus Smart bodies up against a lot of bigger guys too. Like shooting guards, small forwards, power forwards, hell, even some smaller centers. Marcus Smart is strong enough to at least kind of battle down low with them. Sure, he's not going to win all of those battles because they're 7-footers, but he is a guy that can really bang down low with those guys. He can give them resistance. He makes the hustle plays that don't even show up on the stat sheet, like diving for loose balls, securing rebounds, rebounds show up on the stat sheet, but the hustle that he makes to make sure that the possession ends and that the offense gets the ball, diving out of bounds, diving for a loose ball, poking a ball away. There are so many things that he does, forces people to make mental errors, to force turnovers that don't show up as steals because it might go to someone else, but because of his defensive play, it shows up as a steal for someone else and they ultimately get the turnover. Marcus Smart makes so many of those plays. Without him, the Celtics are nowhere near the defensive team that they are. They are an incredible defensive unit. They've got a lot of great defenders in there. Jason Tatum, Robert Williams, of course. Jaylen Brown's pretty solid. They've got good defenders in there amongst that starting unit, and in fact, even the bench unit. But overall, Al Horford too. Al Horford deserves some love. He got ninth in Defensive Player of the Year voting. That just really shows how great this Celtics defense was. And I think because Robert Williams and Al Horford got some love, people are saying, oh, Marcus Smart had these other great defenders, so he didn't deserve it. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I don't think just because you're on a team with a lot of good defenders that you don't deserve it. He is the anchor of that defense. He's probably their most important defensive player. He makes so many I'm not going to reiterate what I just said, but he just makes so many winning plays on the defensive end of the ball that Smart is a deserving candidate to win the award. Sure, you might not agree with it. I know a lot of people that don't. Hell, I don't necessarily. Or, Marcus Smart, I do think is a deserving winner, but like I said, he wasn't my pick to win the award. But even still, I think he was very deserving. I think he's a guy that for a long time has deserved some recognition, and it's cool that he got it. Of course, once again, there is the debate of, what do you do with guards versus big men? I've seen some people say that maybe they should split the award up into best defensive, like front court and back court member, and maybe you could do something like that. But to me, that kind of feels like it might devalue the award a little bit, because some people might be like, whatever, like who really is the true better defender between the two of those? It might kind of reduce some of that narrative and some of that conversation around those awards that make it so fun when we talk about who should win, who shouldn't win, stuff like that. So I don't necessarily know if that is a good solution, but it's kind of tough because in the modern NBA, while of course layups and getting to the basket is the best way to score points efficiently, three-point shooters are becoming more and more efficient. More like a lot of offenses focus on shooting threes and trying to get to the basket, because threes now, if you're able to hit them at a certain clip, are just as good as going for layups. You see so many offenses that shoot 20 and 5+ threes or something like that every single game, because if you're able to knock down threes at a reliable clip, 2 threes is 3 layups. And so when you just kind of look at the mathematical formula, or just the way that like those two convert to each other, the point totals, 3-point shots are continuing to become more and more valuable in the modern league. If you want to be a good defender, you can't just guard the paint. You've got to be able to hold your own on the perimeter, which is some people's criticism of Rudy Gobert, which I think is super overblown. Gobert does a fine job on the perimeter. There were multiple times last game against the Dallas Mavericks where guys try to take him off the dribble on the perimeter and you got to chase down block or stuff them at the rim. Gobert's fine. That's not a really valid criticism. There are some clips out there of him looking kind of silly with like Steph Curry and I think Chris Paul, but like those two guys are going to make any big look silly on the perimeter, so that's not really a big deal. Gobert's a better defender on the perimeter than people give him credit for, and so I do think that is part of why he's won a few Defensive Player of the Years. He is, of course, this phenomenal down low defender, but he's able to switch more than people give him credit for, and I think that kind of is a testament to his skill and the fact that perimeter defense is important. You don't see centers that can only guard the paint really win the award anymore. You don't see guys who can't step out ever on the perimeter, who don't have the length, and as the banner falls in the background, you don't see guys that aren't able to step out and use their length on the perimeter to really win the award anymore. It doesn't really happen. And so there definitely is that conversation of like, what do we do with a guard? What do we do with a forward, a big, and stuff like that? But all of this to say, Marcus Smart is a deserving winner. He does deserve the award. You may not agree with him winning. You may have had a different candidate, but overall, I think Marcus Smart is absolutely a deserving winner of the Defensive Player of the Year award. If you disagree, let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your opinions. Also, let me know what you thought of him winning the award, who was your winner, and things like that. I appreciate y'all watching the video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Real one.